Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our Meet the Artist series from Moraine Valley Community College. My name is Tommy Hensel, and I am the director of the Fine and Performing Arts Center at Moraine. Moraine Valley is located in Palos Hills, Illinois, which is just southwest of Chicago. We have a beautiful performing arts center there with two spaces, a 600-seat proscenium space and a smaller black box space that we use for many different kinds of events. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. Obviously, like everyone in the free world, since March, we've been dark. So we, at this point, actually have canceled everything through the end of December, but we are hopeful to begin performing again in January. But in this time when we aren't performing and we really don't have access to the space, so we can't do performances and live stream them to you, we decided that it would be a really nice idea to reach out to some of our favorite artists who have appeared on our stage in the past several years and see if they would be interested in just joining me for a chat. And in full disclosure, I'm picking people that I really like and enjoy, who are good friends of mine. So it's just like me having a great conversation with a friend, and other people are being voyeuristic and listening in on the conversation. As you'll notice, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can type comments in. We will see your comments, and I'll try to feed questions into our discussion today. And unfortunately, I have to be, throw my vanity out the window and wear my glasses for part of this because I can't see the screen without it. So I'm going to welcome our guest tonight. I'm so thrilled that she said yes when I asked her if she would be interested in chatting with me. Let's welcome to the broadcast studio one of my best friends in Chicago and one of the most talented people that I know, Beckie Menzie.
Hi. I paid you.
Hey, Beckie.
I paid you for that intro.
Yes, you did. That's right. I haven't cashed the check yet, though.
We're in tropical wear tonight.
We are. I'm on vacation technically until next week, so I figured I might as well look like I'm at the beach, even though I'm sitting in Berwyn, Illinois.
And I look like your wall, the paint on your walls.
Oh, you do. This is my kitchen color. And you're in Chicago, correct?
I live right on the lake, rather close to Loyola, in a high-rise on the lake.
Awesome. So we're both kind of in the same kind of neighborhood. So I'm excited to have you here. This whole series has been all about me just reaching out to people that I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to in a long time, just to have a nice conversation. So as you know, I don't really prepare anything. It just
this poor audience.
I know. Who knows what's going to happen? So Beckie, one of the things I remember is that I was trying to remember when we first met, and I remember exactly, once I sat down and thought about it, it was in February of 2008. I moved here in January, and our mutual friend, Fred Eberly, took me to Gentry on State Street, right? In February, and you were playing. And I took sheet music with me, and the song that I picked was extremely obscure. So I was used to having to explain it to accompanists when I went up to sing at other piano bars. So I took this piece up, and it was a chart. It was the song "You" by Stan Daniels from So Long 174th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to explain it, and you said, "Oh, I know this song." And I thought, who knows this song? So I did it, and I sat back down, and the people sitting next to me said, "How long did you rehearse with her?" And I went, "I've never met her before." And everyone was convinced that we had rehearsed it.
Well, I worked for 1 week short of 19 years at the Gentry in many different locations. The first location I loved, which was on Rush Street, kind of right behind Saks Fifth Avenue. But I met some of my favorite people, and there was really something and career changing people who have been instrumental in my career, that even celebrities would come into that room. You would walk in there, and in that little tiny performance room, you weren't a stranger. I mean, you just were a part of that room, and it was a beautiful place.
Yep. And that's what I felt because I was brand new to Chicago, and Fred was one of the few people that I had met at that point. So I had relatively few friends here, and it was only shortly thereafter that the Chicago cabaret professionals started doing those Drury Lane Water Tower.
I put you in a show. Yeah.
Yep, and you put me in a show, so that was kind of how I got into cabaret.
Wasn't it maybe the music of Irving Berlin?
I think it wasn't Irving. Yes, it wasn't Irving Berlin because I did a duet with Laura Freeman. In that show, and that's how I met her.
Oh,
yeah, in like March or April of that year. So good times.
Best friends. So
yeah, but yeah, what's interesting for people who don't know about the Gentry, it was this beautiful, very, in many ways, a very traditional piano bar, and there's so few left now. It's like they've all been going away.
I went to vacation in San Francisco one time, and I just assumed there would be 8 million piano bars.
Yeah.
And no. And I was floored by that because I thought there have to be music lovers and people who love theater in this artsy town. And but there just weren't very many. There were a couple mainstays, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's one of those things I keep hoping we will see come back more again.
There are two I do in Chicago, and there are actually several. But I co-host with Denise McGowan Tracy one at Petterino's, which is right by the Goodman.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Wednesday nights, now I'm not currently doing either of these, but on Wednesday nights at Davenport's, I host an open mic. And you just get such an interesting array of people. But if they love to sing, I think I like them more if they love to sing versus they want you to hear their voice. But if they love to sing, I love them, and I want them to sing.
And for those who don't know, the Monday night thing is called Monday Night Live at Petterino's, and it's a beautiful space for that. They actually set it up really in a lovely way for you. The food is great at Petterino's. So once that happens again, once we're back to Monday nights, you check out that Monday Night Live, people, because it's worth the trip. And I think they have free valet parking at Petterino's on Monday.
I don't think they do anymore. But the artist used to get free, and then we lost our patron who was just dear to a million people. He was a secret patron, and he paid for every singer for valet parking, and he passed, of course, a few months ago. And he just was a great person. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. But still go to Monday Night Live.
Perky.
Pay for parking. Take the blue line. Go. Take the bus. So I do. One of the things that I've been asking a lot of people on this show, and I'm gonna start with that with you, is that I'm always excited to find out, how did the sort of love of music start with you? I mean, when you were young, did you always know this is what you wanted to do, or is this something that came later?
Well, my father had an amazing musical ear. He could not read a lick of music, and he never sang the melody. So if the radio or the Lawrence Welk show was playing and somebody was singing Red Roses for a Blue Lady, he would be singing along in a harmony.
Wow.
And my mother was determined I was going to learn how to read music because voice, my father didn't. And they got a piano by third grade, and I loved it. Well, the first piano exploded. They got a beautiful old piano. We were driving around the lakes, and it just fell off as we turned into a brick street that we lived on, and exploded. And then a week later, they got a different piano. But I played it nonstop. I didn't always play my lesson, but I played the piano a lot. So they knew right away I don't know whether you call it a gift. I mean, I don't know for you. I don't know what you call because you're a beautiful singer and you're a really talented musician who comes from a lyric perspective. I don't know if that's a gift or if it's what you're exposed to.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think, the type of gift that you have at the piano, and we'll talk about arranging and stuff later, but is something that some of it has got to be natural talent, that ear for music and that ability to harmonize and that ability to synthesize. I mean, some of it is technique, but honestly, I think you have to have a certain base level of just talent that you've been given by whatever power is out there.
If you said to me, Becky, I want to do the Barbara Streisand version of Blah de Blah de Blah, I'm not sure I would know that, where some piano players do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you said to me, but if you said to me, let's do something with Frank Sinatra's "We Swell Hours of the Morning," my mind goes ding, and I will think about that lyric or what I know of you as an artist. And so I'm not the cover girl; I am the reimagined girl.
Well, and that's one of the things I loved. I remember that very first time I ever sang with you at Gentry. One of the things that astonished me was that you have this intuitive ability to it's almost like a psychic ability to know what a singer is going to do almost before they do it or before they even know they're going to do it. So you were breathing with me. You knew where I was going to phrase. It was just this very sort of symbiotic kind of relationship. And I think some of that is obviously technique and experience, but honestly, I think some of that is just innate God-given talent.
I've never been somebody to phone in a gig. I do believe if you watch a person and you watch an artist and listen to them, I can play. Laura Freeman and I have done her Doris Day show a gazillion times. And I did those arrangements. I know that show. But she came to the most recent time we did it, and both her and I were just so glad to be making music together that I could tell by the way she breathed or the way she slowed down, she just trusts that I'm going to be there. And we made totally fresh music that evening. And that's what, working in the virtual world right now, that doesn't happen because of latency, because of the delay, innate internet delays and all of the challenges. You don't get to be an empath and lift somebody up, not in the way you want to lift them, but pay attention to them and lift them up in their way. And that's one of the things I love to do that, I'm not getting the chance to do quite as much with the Feinstein program this year and this coaching sessions and arranging I'm doing right now.
So talk to me a little bit about that, the Feinstein and the coaching thing. I would love to know more about that.
Several years ago, I don't know, I think I've been there 5 or 6 years. Michael and the Songbook Academy, who I love those people so much, we're doing regionals in Chicago, right at Roosevelt. And they brought Tom Michael and I in as mentors and teachers and then also judges. And we had to pick 2 that would go down. And then that one of the years they sang with Sandy Patty and they worked with Jim Caruso. And this year, the kids at the Songbook Academy are, they're being taught always, of course, by Michael Feinstein, but by Janice Siegel of Manhattan Transfer and Faith Prince, who's a Tony Award winner on Broadway with Michael, and Scott Bradley of Postmodern Jukebox. Mm-hmm. And then when we teach them about changing an arrangement, thinking about what you can bring to that lyric instead of having a 16-year-old beautiful young girl sing "You Make Me Feel So Young." But we don't need her to sing "I Enjoy Being a Girl," but really finding yourself in a lyric and how to work the microphone. It's an amazing program with really heartful people, and they have turned this into a fascinating virtual program this year. And I'm learning stuff already, and they just want to keep the music of the Great American Songbook alive and to foster 15 to 18-year-old singers to help them understand how they can be better and connected to the lyric and better singers and vocal health. And it's an amazing program.
So how many students are involved in the program?
Well, 40 are selected. The last 2 years have been 5 teams. It used to be 4. So I have a team. Beckie is 8 students. I have a couple from the West Coast, one in San Francisco. somebody in the Boston area, somebody who lives in Manhattan and goes to the LaGuardia School of Performing Arts. And they're really they're just amazing. And so we've been starting early, and we will go. It'll culminate. There'll be a live stream of all of their singing on the 25th of July.
Oh, wow. Now, is that something that the public can watch, or is it a...
Absolutely. Songbook Academy, you can check them out on Facebook and on Instagram, and they're doing master classes, so even an adult singer can see how. There was a beautiful singer by the name of Reed, who was not on my team, and Michael and Mark Cherry, who was the creator and writer for Desperate Housewives, were coaching him on the fact that the Berlin song "Let's Take the Music and Dance" has a little bit of danger in that lyric.
Mhm.
And if you go, "Let's take the music and dance," and you don't really listen to that lyric, and they got amazing stuff out of this beautiful voice.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're taking all these classes from your voice teacher, but you don't think about the lyric.
So if you think about it, drop me an email with the information. I'll make sure that we broadcast it out on our Facebook page, and we get information, because I personally would love to watch that.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll do that.
Great, awesome. You got a lovely compliment from the room. I'm going to put it up on your screen.
Oh, Drew is a singer piano player who comes to my open mic on Wednesdays.
Wonderful. Thanks, Drew. So going a little bit back to your childhood, growing up and studying the piano. When you were getting older, was this your focused career? Were you going to be a pianist? Were you going to be a singer? What was your sort of focus as you were thinking of moving into adulthood and career and all of that?
Well, my father's dream would have been that I would have been Joanne Castle. And one year for Christmas, I almost got like one of those spinning things and was going to do a ragtime number and spin around for him for Christmas, but I didn't. But I would say that I think that when you're that age of the kids I'm teaching right now with the songbook, you do have a sense of who you are. You just sometimes don't realize it. I wanted to do it all. And one time, Craig Carnelia, who is a songwriter from New York, said to me, "Beckie, you need to decide. Do you want to be a songwriter or a musical theater MD or a singer, or do you want it to be you and Tom, or do you want to, you can't do it all. You have to be you won't be a great at it all." And I looked at him and I said, I can do some of those things well. And I would get bored conducting Les Mis for 3 years. And I taught for 17 years adjunct at Northwestern. And I loved the finite period of it and the finite definition of it. And then I would go away and I played Miss Mona. And then I would come back to Davenport's open mic. And I was so glad to see the singers. So I like the teaching and the musical direction, and Tom and I on stage at Carnegie Hall, and Girls Like Us in Omaha, Nebraska. I like the mix of it.
Cool. So most people who have followed your career or go to see your shows in the Chicago region or around the country know that you work really closely with Tom Michael and have for quite a long time. How did that partnership start?
I moved to Chicago, and the first Sunday I went to a Sunday open mic at Boombala, and they asked me to play piano for the rest of that open mic. I'd been here for 5 days. I was working with a theater company called the Pegasus, at that point, Pegasus Players. And then Tom wanted me to transpose some things for him. He wanted to have a session. He was thinking about using me as his piano player. And we went, my piano wasn't up here, and we went to DePaul in a little practice room, and I was transposing everything up like an augmented, fourth, and which is like reading Mandarin.
Yes, it is.
For an hour. And Tommy was very anal, and he had that perfection thing, and I was uber organic, and let's just let it fly. And I didn't know that we would stay friends, but we did. And then we started singing together, and uh, just it was right. And we have been singing I've been in Chicago 32 years, so he and I have sang together in different ways 30 years, but really have been a musical team for 22 years.
Wow, I didn't realize it had been 22 years.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We were singing in New York, and we made that decision that night to try to see if we wanted to be a team.
So we have a really sort of like a out of left field question that just popped up from our mutual friend Beckie Quaddy, who was my guest last week. Here's her question. I love jingles, but nobody writes them any longer, and really good theme songs. I have a feeling Beckie might like them too. If so, which are your favorites?
Well, I don't know that when you think about it, I think Barry Manilow got like $100 for writing "I'm Stuck on Band-Aids." You know, I've never thought about it in a joyful thing. So I don't know that I'm a jingle girl. Um, I don't know, Vicki. I don't know that I am a jingle girl. Because again, it would be about recreating what somebody else has done. Now, if you said, Beckie, rewrite "I Am Stuck on Band-Aids," and I went, I'm stuck on Band-Aids and I'm stuck on you. Yeah, I would change. Then I could do that thing, but I couldn't sing it the way it was written because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not in my artistic DNA.
Well, that's, so what's interesting is that one of the things that I've always loved about working with you, because you've played for me, I've been in shows with you, but also I've been to so many of your shows and I've presented so many. I love I'm just going to say it, your wacky brain, because sometimes I'll sit in the audience and listen to you take 2 or 3 songs and merge them together in some way, in ways that I honestly would never have thought of, and it works. I just
Not always, and it doesn't have to always work.
No, I realize sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, and the audience will tell you.
Yeah.
But sometimes things that have been reimagined, Broadway, we're redoing our Broadway Our Way show. It's gotten canceled, but we have one still alive. And I am doing a Hamilton tribute, or really, I'm doing The Room That It Happened, but not necessarily from a female perspective, so that it goes into If I Were a Rich Man.
Oh.
And then money, money, money. Ain't it funny? In a rich man's world.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be in the room where it happened. So whether that becomes successful or not, I have no idea, because I haven't put it in front of an audience. But I love it.
But honestly, I have to say, I always love sitting in the audience to watch a show of yours that I haven't seen, because I know I'm going to have moments like that where I think, oh, that's like genius. And and you're right. Sometimes I'm like, okay, that was interesting. But other times I just think it's brilliant. And so you've got this
trying and falling on my butt. No.
Well, but you know what? The audience doesn't know that.
Yeah. The Beatles, we are Reimagine the Beatles show. People have responded to amazingly. Because we hear every time, well, when we were doing the show, that they heard the Beatles songs in a different way. Mm-hmm. And so that was a show that was supposed to be at Ravinia this summer. And of course, Ravinia got canceled, and we're so sad about that. But the person who is not going to like that show, and we try to make clear to the arts presenter, like to you, we try to make sure in the marketing, and you can't control that. You can't as an artist. But we do say to somebody, now whether it gets to their marketing team, make sure that audience knows this is a cabaret reimagined version of the Beatles, so that they aren't coming to hear A Hard Day's Night the way the Beatles do them, because they will be disappointed, because my Hard Day's Night is a hard day's nightmare. And it really is a dark, imagine a Tim Burton film, or Tim Burton Sweeney, a mix of Tim Burton, Sweeney Todd, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, or on not Elm Street, whatever that Danny Burton thing is.
Oh, The Nightmare Before Christmas. That one, yeah.
So imagine that, and that is our Hard Day's Night. It's very Morticia Addams and Gomez.
So I'm trying to remember one of the shows you did at our space not too long ago. You did a reimagined piece. You did it in a minor key, and it's normally in a major key.
Almost Like Being in Love.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, that it totally like blew my mind, because you hear the darkness in that song in a way that everybody glosses over when they sing it. I don't know. It was just something really brilliant about that.
Well, there's always an idea. The reason I do it is when I would sing, like years ago on a CD, I don't want to sing a victim song. I don't want to support that. I don't mind singing a song that's devastated. I love darkness, but I looked at Almost Like Being in Love and thought about, well, what is almost like being in love? And for me, it would be lust. And I think this is love. This is love. This isn't love at all. But wow, does he smell good? So that the sensuality, you never think of Almost Like Being in Love as a sensual song. It's innocent love. Mine is not innocent love.
No. That was one of my favorite moments in that show, honestly. I mean, I loved the whole show, but that moment I was sitting in the audience thinking, oh my Lord, I have a whole new way of thinking about that universe of that song. And I've done that show before, but I'm like, ooh, so thank you for that. It was funny. I was saying to you earlier before our broadcast tonight is I decided to do a little bit of research. So I have PDF copies of all of the season brochures for the 12 years that I have been at the Fine and Performing Arts Center. So I went back and looked through all of them to determine how many times have you been on our stages at the Performing Arts Center.
Getting another gig if the numbers are too high.
No. And actually, it was interesting. We'll go into this in a minute. We were planning to have you more this season. But any guess of how many times do you think it is?
Well, does this include the big stage?
Yes, those 2 times that you were in the score by score.
And does this include when I've accompanied?
Yes.
Okay, so because I've accompanied Joan Curto and KT McCammon and others, and Laura. Oh, I'm going to say, you've been there 12 years?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say that I have been there 23 times.
No, actually, it's only 13.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. The nobody else has been there more than 9 times. So Jim Witter is the runner-up.
He's a star. When did you start the smaller series?
So that started in the 13-14 season. So you were in those 2 shows, the score by score shows, the Rodgers and Hammerstein and the Andrew Lloyd Webber. And then there was a little hiatus. And then in January of 2014, Joan Curto did her Cole Porter show. And you and Tom came and did your Irving Berlin and George Gershwin show. So that was my first.
Oh.
That was my first season of the Sunday Salon. So for people who don't know, in the 13-14 season, I inaugurated something that we call Sunday Salon series. I love that. It's like so alliterative, where we do cabaret performances in our small theater. We do 2 shows on a Sunday, one at 2 o'clock and one at 5:30. The space only seats 125 people, and we have 7 tables that ring the stage. So it's a beautiful, beautiful space. And my tech crew are genius at making that space look and sound beautiful. We're so lucky.
I feel very grateful. Sometimes this doesn't get back to you. You get a nice, sweet, honest, sincere thank you note from artists. But people do. The fact that what you did is people will come up to me in the line and they will say, oh, we're coming to your Davenport's April show with Tom, or are you coming back next year? And I will go, oh, go ask Tommy. But it is a more intimate situation than, because you're really connecting with people in that smaller space and singing songs of, whether it's Rodgers and Hammerstein and Hart, or um, Broadway Our Way, or things like that. It is a great way to let them have an idea of what is in their general area, because quite a few of the artists that have been in that series are incredibly talented local artists. And when you started that, I thought, oh, that's so brave of an arts producer to do that. And you not only do that, you market that well, because you sell. We don't hardly do a ton to sell that out, because your audiences love it. They come to that. Our shows have been packed whenever we've been
Oh yeah, and one of our longtime attendees, Jean, just posted this. No offense to Jim Witter. She loves your style of playing, and you top him 20 more times.
I love you.
Jean is one of our great supporters. So, Jean, thank you for joining us on these weekly meet the artist things. It's nice to stay connected to you, since you're such a longtime supporter of the Performing Arts Center. Yeah, when I first started it, part of it was selfish, because I've actually hired myself a few times, just to be honest. So I think I've done 4.
And so I want to bet that that the first show that you did, there was, oh, maybe not, but I think the first show was you and Anne McGregor, maybe.
Yes, it was. It was the 1940s Sentimental Journey show.
And I was going to say the second show was Sondheim.
Yeah, a couple of years later was a Sondheim show. I did like every other year on myself. And the first season you played for Joan, and then you came with Tom, and then it was kind of like sort of alternating. You played for Laura, for Hillary, but then Girls Like Us have been there 3 times.
Yeah,
over the years.
But the audience, they feel like they know us.
Oh yeah.
Cut your hair, and I go, no, I got a wig. That they'll come through, and and that's a nice thing, because when an arts producer allows an audience to become attracted to whoever, they may feel that way about Elaine Dame or Paul Marinero or somebody else who has been there. But it is when you have a group of people who like what you do, and they know you, and some of them you recognize, because you try to take everybody in at that moment, and it allows people to connect to somebody who they like their style of music and what they do. And the fact that they're close by. I had a man from your show come into one of my open mics one night, because he told me in the line he was a singer. And I said, well, then you come in. He came in on his birthday to Davenport's.
Oh.
He brought his friends, and he wanted to sing, and he was great. I don't remember his name.
That's awesome. I'm so glad, being an art center in the southwest suburbs, one of the things, I'm not from this area originally, so I knew nothing about the dynamics of neighborhoods and regions in Chicago. And one of the things that surprised me that I learned really early on in my tenure there is that a lot of people who live in that area never come into the city. They stay in the suburbs. And so I love that some of those longtime patrons have seen you or Paul Matondo or Elaine Dame or KT or Spider Saloff or somebody, and have decided, I'm going to follow them on their email list. I'm going to follow them on Facebook, and they'll go into the city now and to other performances or to other venues like Freedom Hall or other places that you've been. People will travel having experienced you at our theater. So I love the fact that I feel like we're building some audience for cabaret performers in Chicago.
It's a beautiful thing. And right now, in a time where we're everything that makes us who we are is kind of cut off.
Yeah.
And so that I don't think I ever take for granted stuff like that, but I just so much, I miss having Tommy here to sing with, or Marianne and Laura here to try out a new arrangement, or some of the people that I play for. And so I miss what music does and how it can deepen when you find somebody that not only you make good music with, but you just love being with them. And it's good.
Well, I think that's one of the tricks on the both your work with Tom and your work with Marianne and Laura is an audience, especially in a small, intimate environment, gets a read off of the performers in a very intimate, personal kind of way. And if there's a disconnect between two performers, the audience will pick it up, even if they don't know they're picking it up. And it's so evident that you all love performing together, that you just have such a good time. Oh, and Laura's on. Here we go.
Well, when we were in Omaha, Girls Like Us, we ended up selling out 2 weeks. They didn't know us from Adam in Omaha. And Tommy and I have found our challenge is to get an arts buyer to take a chance on Tommy and Beckie because we don't have a Broadway credit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once we get our foot in the door with somebody, we will get referrals to a different place, or we will get asked back in rotation. So our sales thing has to be, who do you know that will vouch that your audience is going to leave really happy, and how can we help you sell this first round of this show so that you recoup your expenses and musically your community the way you want to.
Well, definitely, you can always use me as a referral because I love all of you. And for people who don't understand how this industry works, arts presenting is what I do at Moraine Valley. So I have this theater and I hire performers to be part of a professional series. And so when you're a presenter, you're looking to fill a finite number of performances, and there's a vast number of artists out there who could fill those slots. So a lot of it's about who you know. And so I love when I get a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey, this Beckie Menzie person just called me, and I don't know who she is, but she gave me your name as a referral. Talk to me." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you," because I know it, even beyond the fact that you and I have a personal relationship and I love you, on a professional side, I know that if they tell me who their audience is and it's a match with our audience, I know that your show will sell out.
And we don't want to go if it is in a match.
Yeah, and I get that.
In the size of a space, we'll charge more and take in Girls Like Us, or hire a local drummer and bass player. We understand where we fit in the space and the size of a theater. And I used to be an arts presenting at a large 2,700 seat theater in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we presented smaller series. So I have a little bit of the mix of that world. But it is, when you find visionary arts producers who also, their job has to produce results. And they have a job. And if you're not right, you get upset. But if you're not right and that person knows you're not right or thinks you're not right, you don't want that job.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to build a relationship. You want to leave that gig feeling like these people got me, and this person was happy they booked me.
Yep.
Or Menzie.
And what I love is that as a performer, you get the fact that not every gig will work. Not every venue is the right venue for you. And sometimes I feel like, and you've probably seen this, I feel like I serve as a mentor for at many of the arts conferences for people new in the industry. And sometimes I sort of see this sort of hunger in young artists that they just want to try to take every gig that they can get. And that's not a good strategy. It's really not.
And I think that people have to learn that in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I are, and it may be why we enjoy each other. We enjoy conversation with each other as much. We have that rare gift of being artists, and and business people. There are two words in show business. And I don't know that everyone understands that there are two words in show business. And so I am really grateful for my presenter time, uh, because it does influence the kind of shows that Tommy and I put together, the girls like us put together, because um, if I were on TV right now, Tom Wopat, who used to be on the Dukes of Hazzard, or somebody, I would have an easier time getting a gig. But my job has to find a way where an arts presenter goes, oh, my audience might really love here's the 50th anniversary of the end of the Beatles. And here you can hear the Beatles in a different way, not just a cover band. Or my audience, this series is for an older audience, and this is going to have old traditional Broadway and new Broadway, a little bit new, that they could see Hamilton on Disney and they'll understand that. But if they don't, they know Fiddler on the Roof in that song. And so it it has affected how we choose the shows that we create to tour. Now, occasionally we'll choose to do a show. I think Joan Curto did a great show one time, Once Hit Wonders or something, where a song that she was brought into a CCP show or something, and she had these great arrangements and didn't really have a reason to do them again because they didn't fit into a show. But for us, if we go back to the Acorn Theater every year, we need a new show that's going to sell, to have some sales identity to people who don't know us.
Yep, that's kind of how sort of the way I feel about your work and Jim Witter, who is also very popular at our theater. You know, I brought him back 9 times because he has 9 shows.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a reimagining every time. And in your case, I love the fact that you keep saying, okay, these shows are great. We've got them in the stable and we can pull them back out again. But let's put a new one out. Let's find something that we haven't done. So I guess that sort of leads me to a question of, like, since you've got some extra time now because you're not out touring, are you working on any new material right now, new shows, new concepts?
We're updating Broadway Our Way, and our Broadway Our Way, the first one was old, and some of it was a little more obscure, and now we wanted to contemporize a little bit of it, and we wanted to add a little more humor in it. And so we have this whole story about Tommy being obsessed with a chorus line that leads into a beautiful number that the audiences will know, but not the way we do it. I think that's what we're working on. The challenge is Tommy's been in Palm Springs since February, end of February. Irwin and I had a gig with Deb Dar in Puerto Vallarta in March. And when we came back, Chicago had been shut down. And literally I got back into gig being canceled. I was teaching a musical theater masterclass for a week at Rhode Island College, canceled. Just show after show, whether it was a senior center or it was Ravinia, so one of the wonderful things that's happened for me is I never wanted to have a synthesizer in my life or electric piano. And just because of the nature of a friend of mine from New York, I have created a virtual studio, and I am doing arrangements for people from Washington, D.C., and I had a girl from San Francisco last night, and I am doing arrangements for people across the country. So it's opened up a brand new world to people who would like to have a Beckie Menzie arrangement. And it's working beautifully virtually. It was a fast learning curve, and there were days where I wanted to take 8 Xanax and cry. There were days where I felt like I would talk to the girls on Marco Polo, my gal pals, which are like Joan and Hillary and Laura and Marianne. And I would go, I did it today. I can record a track. I'm gonna fly now. I'm like running up the steps like Rocky Balboa. And then the next day, it doesn't work. And
Yeah. But it's that whole thing of saying, okay, well, we've got a given circumstance, so how can I maximize?
Or make an income.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I mean, I think most of the people who are watching, and I'm watching the names. Oh, by the way, Bernie and Judy said hello.
I love that.
But the one of the things that many of us in the performing arts know is that the whole performing arts world, uh, like, imploded in on itself in a week in March. It was like we were the first industry to go under, and sadly, it looks like we may be the last one to come back because of the way live performance works.
I've got 2 gigs. Well, no, we're doing a salon series, an outdoor salon series at Joan Curto's house in July.
Yep, I'm on her email list for that.
And that looked beautiful, the first one. But Tommy and I are going, supposedly, our Reimagine the Beatles show is at at Brian Lynch, who's no longer at the North Central.
Yeah.
And then we have Acorn Theater Broadway on our way, and we'll see if those last.
Yep. Well, I've got my first show scheduled back at my theater is on January 23rd. So
who's that?
Jim Witter is
Okay.
our yep. But I have you in March. I think you're accompanying Hillary for her Carol Burnett show.
And Marianne, maybe.
And then Marianne is doing her Dolly Parton show. I've got that, and then Joan Curto rescheduled for Broadway Women.
Oh my God, I better check my calendar.
I know. Do you play for David Edelfelt?
No, I do not. I was not able to do that show, so he has another player, Chuck Larkin, who's a beautiful, beautiful player.
Oh, I love Chuck. But yeah, so it looks like I've got you on the calendar for 3 more shows in the spring.
I wasn't in double digits. I thought 23.
Well, so you'll be at 16 after the spring at this point.
We got to build up to 23, bud.
But yeah, I've got you I've got 4 cabaret shows scheduled in the spring. I rescheduled a bunch of David and Joan. I got rescheduled, and I had already booked Hillary and Marianne. And I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for. I've seen Hillary's Carol Burnett show, and I love it. But I'm really excited for Marianne's Dolly Parton show because I haven't seen it. I've only seen little excerpts of it.
I love Dolly Parton. This is where you and I, the Waylon Jennings, I love that music.
Oh, yeah.
Marianne's wonderful. Obviously, I love Marianne, working with Marianne because she's part of Girls Like Us. And Girls Like Us we have a little guest cameo in that.
Oh, cool.
So it's wonderful. She's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's a great idea for a show because I love Dolly Parton. She's just always been one of my idols. And when Marianne told me she had put that show together, I was like, oh, yes, please, let's put it in the schedule. And I did. I have already booked a couple of things for the following season. I have the Boomer Babes.
Fun. Funny.
Yep,
fun, delightful.
Yep, in the fall of 21. So yeah.
Great. Well, it's a beautiful thing that you do, not only for your audience, but for artists who deserve a chance to see if there's an audience for them.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, because we've been doing this series for 7 years now, there is a core audience that comes to almost everything. And so you're guaranteed, even if it's kind of a different concept for a show, you're guaranteed that it may not sell out, but it's going to be close to a sellout at our space. So you get a chance to try it in front of a really receptive live audience.
Yeah. And a great piano.
I love that piano. You're a big fan of that piano, I know. One of the things, just so people, people have asked me this before, is, like what is a cabaret performance? And I always feel like this is what I say to them, and then I would love to know your take on it. Is, for me, cabaret has to be in a small space. It's an intimate kind of thing where I feel like the audience needs to go away feeling like they've gotten to know you in some way personally, in a way that they can't in a big giant proscenium theater.
I agree. What I found, show buyers like you and arts presenters, we were told, there was a man, you remember Arthur Schaffman, I think, from New York.
Yeah. No, poor Arthur. He passed away a few years ago. Yeah.
And he said to me, he goes, he would say, Becky, if I can't book blah, 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 I'd love to put you and Tom on my roster, but if I can't get blah, blah, them to buy, and it was some Broadway person he had, how am I going to sell these two kids from Chicago? And we just didn't care because he called us kids. So we were like, but the interesting thing is he did say to me, he goes, stop using the word cabaret because people don't really know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tom and I, when we sell ourselves, and because we will be girls like us, we were in a 235 seat place a night in Austin or in Omaha, Nebraska. Tom and I will go into venues, and I think Tom and I are best without Irwin in venues that are 150 to 350 to 354.
Yep.
And it still creates intimacy. And I saw Streisand for the first time. Now, how I could have worked in a gay bar for 19 years and never have seen Barbra Streisand, but I just saw her a year ago, and she created an intimacy between her and the audience. I never expected that. So I believe it's the openness to be just who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and also to understand in a bigger venue, it's not TV acting. Like I'm maybe going to make things a little more inflated, a little more heightened in a larger space, and a little less heightened in a smaller space. But they're always going to be honest, and they're always going to be me,
Yep.
and then it'll work.
And I think that's the key. Is it's all about honesty. The audience loves when they feel like you've pulled them in to some kind of like personal conversation.
Or they see you,
Yeah.
where you're not. In my world, I don't want to give you a total recreation of an artist because the bill is Tom, Michael, and Beckie Menzie. And while you may not know us at the start of the show, our goal is always in creating the show that you know us at the end of the show.
Yep.
Whether you like us, we can't control. But honestly, who wouldn't like us?
But you're right. But they'll know you. Yeah. I think that's the key, and that's one of the reasons. I feel like even in our 600 seat space, you can create that intimacy with an audience. Particularly in the orchestra, it's a little harder with the balcony. But certainly in our 125 seat space, it's so simple. It's bigger than the Davenport's back room. But that room is another one where you're right up there. So if you're not honest, everybody will know you're not honest.
And it's never happened that people have not been honest on that.
Yep.
I don't smoke. I just do this gesture for fun.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, yeah, that would never happen. Really?
That would never happen. No, I don't know any of those artists.
No, we won't go there. This is not that kind of session. Off camera, we can talk about that. So we got a little bit more time. One of the things that in your bio that people always connect to because they're like, is that you performed at Carnegie Hall. So what was that performance?
The first time I performed at Carnegie Hall, I performed on an Irving Berlin night. See, the good things can happen. Michael Feinstein was doing a series at Carnegie Hall called Now and Then. And what he would do is in the first act, he would take a master songwriter and then you would do what you did as an artist with a song by Irving Berlin. And then in the second act, you would show you as a songwriter. So Susan Werner, Sherry Coons and I, Chuck Larkin, that might have been it. We were invited by Michael and Michael Kirker of ASCAP to be a part of this series. And I had been in Florida on vacation, hadn't touched a piano for 2 weeks. I just was relaxed and ready to get on a piano. And I think that was years of performing at Town Hall. I wasn't afraid to perform in front of a New York audience. I knew they were either going to like me or not. And so that was with Michael, and that was wonderful. And then we were asked back by the Mabel Mercer Foundation on the centenary birth of Cole Porter to do a Cole Porter thing. And then Tom and I performed at Jazz at Lincoln Center a lot and New York Town Hall a lot.
Wonderful. That's awesome. You know what reminds me is that you told me an interesting story about like a moment, an intersecting moment with Stephen Sondheim when you were playing at the Chicago Shakespeare, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So just tell me that story again, because I remember just thinking that was hysterical.
Oh no, he was like running to the bathroom, and I was like, I had played piano music, and I said to Bob Mason, who is a dear friend of mine and a casting director of Chicago Shakes, I said, I'm playing dinner music of Sondheim stuff. Do I play it the way he wrote it? What do I do my thing? And he goes, do your thing, re-envisions, do the play the Sondheim thing. And Stephen ran by me and didn't say anything for a second because I didn't know. And I thought, oh, he just hated it. And then he turned around and went, I liked your playing. And then he went into the room.
Hey, you know what? That's a compliment.
It was okay. So yeah, he also won an award for my sister-in-law, Rona Frazen, was the a chief executive officer for the Chicago Public Library Foundation. And he won an award one year. And magically, they needed another author to get an award. And they occasionally would do CDs, and Tom and I had a CD out. And so Tom and I we won an award from the Chicago Public Library Foundation. And so Tom and I won an award the same year that won a similar award to Stephen Sondheim.
Well, there you go. Hey, put that in your bio. Oh, I'm going to pop this up on. So if anybody doesn't, I mean, Beckie's website is her name. But if you want to get more information about Beckie and what CDs that she has available and all sorts of other stuff about the shows, you can visit BeckieMenzie.com.
You have to spell Beckie with an IE.
Yes, BECKIE Menzie.com. I'm going to pull that out. I'm doing all my tech, so I'm like, wait, click.
Like a checklist.
So Beckie, we're close to the end of our time together. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about, or anything that you wanted to bring up?
I'm not really sure. I think the thing that I feel says the most about me is that I love. It's the fact that I've been at your place that many times, and not as just the headliner. I feel that what I'm missing terribly are the people I make wonderful music with, and that live interaction. And so I think that defines me. And I think the other thing that kind of defines me as an artist is that I want any singer I play for to feel like they got the chance to show their best. And I would say the same is true of on the two acts that are like, in the kind of brand that I do, which is Tom and Beckie and Girls Like Us. I want to feel proud of the work. I want to enjoy the people I work with. And I wanted to figure out, it was important to me to figure out a way to be the artist that I was. Because I love esoteric material. I knew that song, back to the country. But I found that I needed to find a way to sell myself as an artist that didn't betray the joy of being an artist. Because when I first decided to leave Pegasus and go out on my own and try to make a living, it wasn't could I make my living making music. For me, the question was, did I want to? Did I want music to be a job? Would I lose the joy of it? And I found the way I don't lose the joy of it is that I select people who I work with, even as an arts presenter. I don't really go places where I'm uncomfortable with that relationship because I want to make you happy so much about me. And so I have been able to, through the years, find a way to be the artist I am, who is somebody who reimagines, has you hear a song in a new way, and still find an audience. And I'm really grateful for people like you who are friends, and you become friends with Chuck Savy, you become friends with with a lot of the people who you care about. But I wanted to find a way to love my music, and that way I could love my job. And I've been able to do it. And if nothing else has reminded me how grateful I am for it, it has been the pandemic.
Yep. And Kathy Glickman says, "Hear, hear," on that. And we got a lovely, I love Kathy too. We've got a lovely compliment from Terrence Patrick Davis here.
It's all the beautiful, so these are great voices.
Yeah, we love you, Beckie. Looking forward to live open mics with you at Davenport's when we can all safely be together again.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Absolutely. That sort of says it all. So, Beckie, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me tonight.
I adore you, and I'll meet you at the fire pit out by the luau that we're going to tonight.
It's luau time. Woo-hoo. Well, I am going to, I finished my glass of wine. It's going to be another one when we're done.
Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So, Beckie, I'm going to take you out of the stream, but stick around. We'll talk a little bit afterwards. But thank you so much. And when you talk to Tom, give him my love. Laura's on here, so I'll say I love you too, Laura. And you talk to Marianne, tell her the same thing. So thanks, Beckie. So thank you so much, everyone. I so appreciate you joining us again tonight. This has been such a godsend for me on Tuesday nights to be able to connect with artists that are my friends and people that I love, to share some time with them and with all of you who are watching. So please put it on your calendar. Every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, I'm meeting with someone who has been on our stage. Next week, I'm excited. My good friend Joshua Kane will be our guest. Joshua is an amazing actor, voiceover actor, and mentalist. And when he talks about his voiceover work, you'll start to recognize his voice, because you will remember having heard it on many commercials and national commercials. So I'm excited about that. If you go to our website, you will see the list of all the artists coming up. We're scheduled now through the first week of August. So if you are not on our email list, please go to our website, click through, add your name to our email list. Every Thursday night, I send out an email with an update about the next week and a list of everybody that we've booked so far. So like I said, we've got some amazing people coming up in July. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I am going to sign off now and go have another adult beverage. So thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I will see you all next week.